So, hey guys, welcome to Relationship Wednesdays, where we talk about a relationship and we get to comment on it and say what we would have done differently or agree with some of the people involved. Let's pause for this brief promotion. The number one DNA paternity test. You can have it delivered to you anywhere around the world. The DNA test is so easy to take. It's 100% accurate and you can do it straight from home. Just $59. The test kit and the lab fees included for one father and one child. They will send you a DNA sample collection kit for easy at-home use. Return the swabs in the pre-addressed envelope and your results will be available to you in about a week's time. Paternity is a sensitive issue. Let's face it, you really want highly trained staff of professionals ready to talk to you and supply guidance and reassurance on these sensitive and confidential matters. You can follow up online at any time using your unique access code to know the progress status of the DNA study. It will usually take about 3 days after your samples have arrived in the lab. Easy peasy, no more worrying and no more fretting. And it's so easy to order your kit on WhatsApp 647-513-5233. Simply say this code, DR Paternity, and start your process today. Now, speaking about the people involved in this story, that like Relationship Wednesdays, I like to start out with a story and then we go into a little lesson. So the two people in this story, we are going to give them fictitious names in order to protect the people involved. So we have Raquel and we have Richie. I like those names, they kind of rhyme. Anyway, Raquel and Richie, they met online, like a lot of people do these days. Raquel, she was more of a single woman. She's a lawyer and she has dated a few men around the bend. And you know what? She just got tired of the average Joe Schmo. A lot of guys would get with her and then they would feel intimidated by her because she's a strong woman. But she's not a strong and wrong woman. She's a strong and confident woman. And a lot of guys, they find it a little bit of either a turnoff or they find it intimidating. So she's the type of gal who really wants a guy that's going to appreciate her for who she is and accept her for the independent woman that she is. Now, Richie, on the other hand, he's very much like her, but he's been through a lot of relationships and he's been hurt. He was looking for that wonder woman that he could love and that he could appreciate, a real boss, you know? He wanted not a bossy woman, but a woman that could take control. And that's what he was looking for, because in his past relationships as a businessman as well, he found that a lot of the women were wishy-washy. He would be like, okay, so, what restaurant do you want to go to? And he's paying for everything. And they could pick the most expensive restaurant if they wanted to because he's stacked like that. But they would be like, I don't know, what restaurant do you want to go to? And he'd be like, you know what? Any restaurant you want. You just tell me what restaurant and I will take you there. And he found like it was like pulling teeth from most women and that they were insecure. He's very into beautiful women. And he just felt like the most beautiful women that he was meeting, they just seemed like bimbos. And that's not true for the most part. There are a lot of beautiful, intelligent women out there. But there are a lot of women out there who are, putting themselves out there a lot more than the intelligent woman. And they tend to have not a lot of substance. So he kept running into that type of a woman that really had no substance and she really wasn't independent until he met Raquel. So Raquel and him, they met online and they hit it off. This was the difference though. They lived in two different countries. Raquel, she lives in Canada. Richie, he lives in the United States. But they don't live so far away from each other, just a border away from each other, with Raquel being in Toronto, which is very close to where Richie was living, Buffalo. So the two of them, they decided that they were going to meet up. But Richie said, you know what, Raquel, I'm not going to make you take the drive to Buffalo, New York. I'm going to meet you in Toronto. So he got himself a really nice hotel and he said to her, this is going to be a great weekend, like a fabulous weekend. And she agreed. She went and she met him at the hotel. They hit it off. they actually felt like they loved each other after the first night. And he was like, I think I love this woman. And she was like, I think I love this man, So, but it didn't go much further. They spent time at his hotel. They were not intimate. They went swimming in the pool. They had dinner. They went to a few of the museums in Toronto. I'm from Toronto, so I know there's a lot to do when you are together for the weekend having a date night. And they only had 2 date nights. So there really wasn't much to do in regards to getting to know each other except just sharing time together. So now Richie, he went back home to Buffalo, and the two of them continued to talk. Richie asked Raquel, you know what, I'd love to make a second trip to Toronto. He's like, I have a few business meetings lined up in Mississauga near the airport, and I would love to make a trip to Toronto, which is just like 20 minutes away. And he's like, do you mind? And she's like, well, I would really like for you to stay with me this weekend. If you're coming all the way here, don't bother getting a hotel. And he's like, are you sure? She's like, absolutely. I really want you to come and spend the weekend with me. He said, all right, I'm ready. So he went there, and she said, there's only one thing. She had to go in the office on Saturday. She's like, listen, Richie, I have to go into the office on Saturday, but I'm only going to be in the office for tops 3 hours. Make yourself comfortable in my condo and, cook or watch TV, whatever you want to do. The fridge is stacked for you. And, I have Netflix. I have a lot of movies. Just go to town. And he's like, all right, you know what? There's a game I want to get caught up on and some sports and everything. And he's like, absolutely, I would love to. So he stayed at her place while she was gone. Let's just back up a little bit. That Friday when he arrived, they did become intimate. And they were intimate, and they both loved it very much. And they said to each other that night that they loved each other. And he said it to her first, and she said it back, and she's like, wow, I can really say I do feel love for you. I don't know you. We're just getting to know each other, but this feels pretty darn amazing. And he was like, I agree. So the two of them, they were great. They woke up in the morning. She cooked some breakfast for him. He cooked a little bit of breakfast for her, like they cooked with each other. And then she got ready and she went to the office. Now, while she was at the office, he thought, you know what? He wants to do something special for her. So he wanted to clean her place up, even though it was immaculate. Now, this is where things get kind of shady. And this is where I'm like, did he really want to clean her place, or did he just want to snoop around? But in any case, he cleaned her place. So Richie found a letter. And on this letter, it said, Raquel, you got to be one of the most beautiful women I ever met in my life. I'm looking so forward to sharing time with you. This letter had a date on it. Now, first of all, I don't know who writes love letters with dates on them these days with the invention of cell phones, but sometimes people do it, right? They write a little letter and put it on the stand. Maybe that's what he did, and it went underneath the bed. We don't know. But he did say, I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next couple of weeks. Now, that would be the week after Richie was there. So the weekend Richie was there, this guy was supposed to be coming the weekend after. So Richie was fuming. He was hurt, first of all. And he's like, you know what? Another woman. This woman just, he didn't know what to do. He thought to himself, this is not what he wants in his life. He doesn't want a woman that's smart, that has substance, and also is, not very truthful. And so he waited for her to get home, but she was running a little late. So what he did was he packed his clothes. And he's like, I'm out of here. I am not waiting for her. I'm nobody's fool. So he packed his little bag that he had, and, he put it on the bed, and he was just about to carry it out. And she walked in, and she went and she looked for him, and she found him in the bedroom. And she's like, Richie, what do you got your bag out there for? What's going on? And he's like, you know what? I'm leaving. And she's like, what happened? And he gave her the letter, and he's like, what's this? And she's like, I honestly don't know what this is. And he's like, your name is on it, and it's signed Mark at the end. And she's like, I don't know what you are talking about. And she looked at it very closely and she just thought to herself, okay, obviously she knows Mark, but she thought to herself, you know what? This is not what she wants. She doesn't want a man that's going to explode. So she said to him, okay, bye. And he said, that's all you're going to give me? Bye? And she's like, you know what? We are not married. And I was not a virgin before I met you. I was a woman that was on the dating scene. I was hurt here and there, and I just gave up on relationships. And for me to have a dalliance or to be with a man for a weekend is totally fine. And he's like, yeah, but Mark says on the sheet of paper that he's going to be coming next weekend. And she's like, so? It doesn't mean he's coming. She said, I didn't even see this letter. And he's like, it was under your bed. Clearly you were hiding it. She's like, I wouldn't be hiding this, first of all. And second of all, it's my bedroom. And I don't believe that you should be snooping around my bedroom. And he's like, I was trying to clean your bedroom. She's like, my bedroom is immaculate. What were you trying to clean? He's like, I was just trying to straighten things out and, you know, your shoes. And I wanted to clean up under your bed. A lot of people have things under their bed. He said, I don't know. My emotions, my energy, my spirit told me to look under the bed and I found it. And she said, well, seek and ye shall find. Bye-bye. And he was like, what? She's like, bye. You got to go. Like, you have issues. If this is how you handle something when you're disappointed, you just want to pack up and go, then this is what you're going to do throughout the whole relationship if you and I were to ever get together. You are explosive. You didn't ask me for an explanation and you're just packing your stuff and you're running. I can't deal with runners. And he's like, okay, well, let's talk about it. And she's like, I'm done talking. You didn't want to talk in the beginning. I come home. I see that you're all packed up. Go. Follow your first instinct. If I am not worthy of you wanting to talk to and hold on to me, then leave, because I don't want this type of dysfunction. And he sat down on the bed and he's like, wait, maybe I did react too quickly. And she's like, maybe you did. Maybe you did. That's right. But you also showed me a side of you that I'm not willing to work with, because I need a man that's going to be patient, a man that's going to ask me questions. And he had to leave because she was getting a little bit angry. And she even said to him, don't have me go downstairs and call the concierge. Don't have me go downstairs and call security on you. You need to leave. And he didn't want any problems. So he just grabbed his bag and he left. Now, once he left, she looked at the letter, like the little love letter. And she just thought to herself, well, yeah, if she was in that position and she was at his place and she saw that, she would think that he would have a woman over the weekend after she's gone, right? I think most of us would think that anyway, because of the date. The letter was dated. So she contacted him and she said, listen, are you still but she didn't contact him right away. She contacted him about, 20 minutes later. And she's like, hey, listen, are you still close? And he's like, yeah, I'm actually just down the street here. I'm having a drink at the local bar. And she's like, all right, I'm going to come meet you. I'm going to come down and I want to talk to you. I think we can get past this. He's like, yeah, come on over. I really do want to talk about this. So she arrived there. She sat down with them. They were having their drinks. And then, they started to laugh about it. And they just felt like it was ridiculous. She looked at him and she's like, I really need you to not be reactive. I really need you, if you and I are going to be in love and we are going to play this game called a relationship, I need you to be just cool, calm, and collected. And he looked at her and he's like, well, if we're going to play this relationship game, I need you to play by the rules and not cheat. And she was like, well, okay, I wasn't cheating. First of all, we hadn't made any type of intimacy yet. The first weekend we shared together, we knew we were interested in each other. She's like, but I was still dating. I don't know what your plans are. You live in Buffalo, I live in Toronto. And if I have the opportunity to meet someone else before I know what's going to go on with you and I, then don't you think I have right to do that? And he's like, absolutely. But, he's like, what about next weekend? Are you going to let Mark go over to your place? And she's like, no, I'm not. I promise. I'm going to play by the rules. And he said, okay. So both of them went upstairs together and they finished their weekend tryst. And he left and he went back to Buffalo. All week he spoke about this guy, Mark. And he was like, did you hear from Mark? Did you and Mark talk today? Mark, 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 Mark. And she said to him by Wednesday, please, the way you're going on with this whole Mark situation makes me feel like I don't want you to come this weekend. I'm telling you right now, if you continue to talk about Mark, you're not going to come. She's like, I'm a woman of my word. And I said to you that since we were intimate and since we're getting along and we seem to really like each other a lot and we seem to have some type of a vibe going on, I'm not going to allow Mark to come over. And she says, if you keep speaking like this and you keep nagging my brain, you're not going to come over either, because they made a plan that he was going to go back to her place. Now, just to let you know, for those of you who don't know, Toronto and Buffalo are just like an hour and a half apart from each other. Not like maybe 2 hours. I don't really remember too clearly right now, but it's not very long. And so he's like, all right, I'll stop talking about Mark. And he didn't. It was relentless. Like even that night, he woke up like 2 o'clock in the morning and he said to her, he's like, I can't stop thinking about you and Mark. I just feel like he's going to be at your place when I'm in Buffalo. And she said to him right away, she's like, you know what? Don't come this weekend. She's like, it is too early in the morning for me to have to be waking up to messages like this. I can't deal. This is it. She's like, don't come this weekend. We need some time to get to know each other. And he was like, all right. He's like, okay, I get it. I understand. So Friday came and he messaged her and he's like, hey, I'm going to come anyway. And she's like, no, you're not. If you're coming to Toronto, you're not coming to my place, because I am for sure certain that you are going to mess things up. We need some time to air things out. We need some time to take this relationship slowly. And he's like, okay, were you and Mark like really that much in love? And she's like, I didn't even love Mark. It was just a dalliance. It was just a one night thing. I didn't even see the letter. I keep telling you this. Why are you nagging me? So Richie ended up going to Toronto anyway. And he went to the same bar downstairs from her condo, downtown Toronto. And he called her up and he's like, Raquel, come downstairs. And she's like, Richie, where are you? And he's like, come downstairs. And now he thought she was going to be like, oh my gosh, you're such a sweetheart. You came anyway. But no, she was the opposite. She was scared. And she was like, what are you doing? I told you don't come. And he's like, I want to talk. I just want to see you. And she's like, I am not going downstairs. I'm writing a deposition right now. I'm working on something. I am definitely not going downstairs. I'm busy. I have a lot of work coming up this week and I cannot distract myself right now. And so he didn't believe her and he went upstairs. The concierge let him in downstairs in the front. I guess because the concierge saw him the weekend before. But anyway, he went upstairs and he knocked on the door. And when she went to the door, he went to the side in order not to be seen through the peephole. And she opened the door, thinking that it was probably a neighbor or something, because nobody buzzed up to tell her that company was coming. And she wasn't afraid because it's a relatively safe luxury building. And she opened up the door, and there is Richie. And Richie's like, I need to come in and talk to you. I really need to just sit down with you and talk to you. And she's like, Richie, this is inappropriate. I don't know you enough like this. And I think that you exploding the way you did the first weekend, and then, you now coming up to my apartment like this without permission is showing me that you don't have boundaries. It's showing me that you don't have control over your emotions. And this is, quite frankly, is frightening me. I don't feel comfortable now. And I don't think that we even have anything in common any longer. And he dropped to the floor and he started to cry. And she closed her door and called the security. And I'm laughing, not because it's funny, but because what do you do in a situation like that? Right? You have to call security. Somebody is unstable. You have to look out for yourself. So when security showed up, they, helped him up off the floor and they carried him to the elevator. He was crying and crying, and he, ended up driving himself back to Buffalo. And he didn't contact her the whole time on his way. But when he got to Buffalo, he contacted her and he said, listen, I just want to tell you, I'm so sorry. I don't even know what I was thinking. He's like, I just finally met a woman that is amazing. And I've had such a hard run with so many other women. And no woman has ever turned me away. Most women are just bimbos. And you are the woman that I finally got, that I've been looking for all my life. And you're throwing me away. He's like, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. I didn't know what to do. And she's like, well, I'm sorry that you didn't know what to do, but what you did was inappropriate. It was scary. And she said, I don't want to deal with a man that is that emotional. That is freaky to me. That is crazy to me. And he said to her, he's like, I'm not, usually not like this. And she's like, I don't believe it. And so about 3 weeks later, she just stopped talking to him. That was it. She stopped talking to him. About 3 weeks later, somebody contacted her on Facebook. And they said to her, are you dating Richie? And she was like, no, I'm not. And they said, okay, because I just want to tell you that, he is a really good man. He's amazing. And he's my ex. And I really want him back. And I noticed that he was posting photos with you and him a couple of weeks ago when he was in Toronto. And those photos are now gone on Facebook, but he tagged you in them. And at that point, I checked you out. And she's like, I just want to make sure that, he's not dating you. And this woman went to Toronto to the law firm of Raquel about 3 days after that and sat down in Raquel's office and cried and said to Raquel that Richie is the best thing that ever happened to her, and that, she wants to get back together with him and all this stuff. And Raquel's like, this is crazy. Like, all this emotion, all this craziness, all this crying, all this stuff. And so she called Richie. And she's like, Richie, your ex-girlfriend is sitting in my office crying for you. And Richie was like, oh my gosh, are you serious? And she's like, yes. Like, she won't leave. She's crying. She's upset. And Richie was like, okay, put her on the phone. So the girl stopped crying, and the girl's like, Richie, I just love you so much. You're such a sweet guy. I'm so sorry that I couldn't make you happy. Please, can you just come back to me? And he told her, get off the phone and leave the office and blah, blah, blah. Well, 2 weeks after that, the same girl contacted Raquel and called her business line from a cell phone, right? Like her law firm. And she's like, Raquel, I just want to tell you that Richie paid me to do that. And I just want to say to you that he is a little crazy, and I don't want to be at fault if anything does happen to you. So Raquel just pretty much blocked him on everything. And, she got that woman to make a statement just in case. And that was it. Nothing else has happened after that. But Raquel is terrified. She told the concierge downstairs, do not let Richie in the building. And she also made sure that now when she leaves, she doesn't go to her underground parking. She parks outside in the outside parking because she doesn't want to be in the underground alone at any time. And she's living her life in fear. She's totally terrified because she feels like she got with this guy that was just unstable. And now that he's blocked, he hasn't been messaging her or anything like that. But when you really think about it, okay, they were together, and, I think, first of all, I'm not saying you can't love somebody right away. There are a lot of couples that have fallen in love at first sight and they work out. But there are a few things that you have to really take in account. Like the fact that, the first weekend was fine. The first weekend, I think, was great. When he showed up, they chilled out, they were fine, they were chilling in his hotel and everything. And then the next weekend, when he went there, and he found the letter, he was snooping, 100%. She should have just let him go after that. How he behaved and how he overreacted, she should have paid attention to her spider senses. Him getting all in a huff and puff, upset, saying that he's going to leave, and then, going downstairs to the bar. Now, a lot of us might say, okay, we all get upset like that. We are reactive at certain times. But he was really reactive, and he didn't give her a chance to talk, and they had just gotten together. And yes, after she told him that Mark was just, a dalliance, he should have given her the benefit of the doubt and not bothered her all week. And that's one thing, because we will all think about those things. If it happens to you, if it happens to me, if it happens to the next person, it's difficult to let that go. When we really like someone, we most likely will think about that. But we shouldn't bombard other people with our emotions. We shouldn't be contacting them constantly, like 3 o'clock in the morning, and saying, I can't stop thinking about this. Like, I feel like you're going to be with Mark or the other person, and I think that is when we really have to look. Now, I'm pretty sure Richie was a sweet guy, a nice guy. He's been hurt a few times. He just doesn't want women that are bimbos. He wants a woman that is a strong, independent woman, a woman that's going to love him, take care of him, have some substance. But he cannot be so weak himself that he cannot control his emotions. That's the number one thing that he should have been doing, controlling himself. Be in control and be independent. Make this woman, Raquel, appreciate him, honor him, love him like a king. He was acting like a pauper. And then especially when he went to her place unannounced, that was just pushing it too far. And then when he was crying at her door, just dropped and cried at her door, that does start to freak somebody out. And then he sends a woman to her work. Come on. And because when the woman contacted her on Facebook, let's back up a little bit. When the woman contacted her on Facebook, Raquel didn't seem to care. Raquel was just like, whatever, okay, yeah, thank you, we're not dating. He thought Raquel was going to get jealous over that Facebook message and contact him right away and be like, oh, I miss you. I can tell that you're a hot commodity and I want you back. Can we talk? Or he must have thought that Raquel was going to contact him and say, hey, Richie, your ex-girlfriend contacted me. And then maybe within that conversation, the two of them can start talking again. A lot of us play games when it comes to the heart. But she didn't bite. So he actually, that's it. He drove the girl. I forgot to say that. He drove the girl to Toronto. And he was very close to the girl. Like, he was just downstairs when the girl was talking in the office. So he was playing way too many games. He was showing a lot of signs of being unstable. And a lot of us have emotions that are very strong. A lot of us, we can fall in love with someone overnight. But again, we have to control those emotions. We have to control those feelings. We have to get to know the person before we assume that they are doing what we think they're doing. I think he could have given the benefit of the doubt to Raquel and, just kind of played it by ear. Just not necessarily invest less feelings, not necessarily invest less time, but let things come together organically. We can always tell when someone wants us. They will show us. And Raquel was giving him the time of day. She did go down to the restaurant to meet him again. When she found out he was an emotional wreck, she did the right thing. She let him go. And I'm sure he's a nice guy. And I'm sure he would have loved her to pieces. But I'm also sure that he has some healing to do, and that he can't do that when he is unwell, because all he will do is take toxic negativity emotions into the relationship. Where Rachel, she didn't deserve that. All she wanted was love. As an independent, strong woman, the last thing she wanted to do was take care of a child, a man. So put your comments down below and tell me, have you ever had anyone that was ever like that, obsessed with you, couldn't get over you? Or have you ever experienced falling in love with someone that you just couldn't let go of, and you just met them, but or you felt within yourself that they would have been perfect for you, and you did something to mess it up? I guess we all are a little guilty of both at certain times, right? When Raquel contacted me for a session, she asked me, Cerise, do you think I was wrong? Do you think I was cold, hard in what I did? And I said, absolutely not. I don't think you were cold. I don't think you were mean. I think you were straight across the board with him. You told him straight up front. You didn't break up with him. You just said to him, do not go that weekend. And he still went and broke down. I think if he didn't go that weekend, if he just let everything ride, they might have been okay. But because he needed healing and he needed help, he didn't know how to do that. And he needed to get that in order. But I said to her, you were not cold. You were not dysfunctional. You were not dismissive. You were looking out for yourself, and you were making conscious decisions and good choices when it comes to relationships. So there we go, guys. Relationships, they can be scary, trying, and challenging. But really, when it comes to the end of the day, we have to make sure that we take care of our hearts, and we have to make sure that we take care of our brains. And not only that, we take care of our life and do not get involved with guys that get obsessive. Take care of yourself. I'm Cerise, and this is Relationship Wednesdays.
So let the love shine.